Good day guys, Austin here, and today we have an exciting update. We're going to be installing Mess. I'm quite excited to be honest, not because it's an exciting emulator, although it is in its own terms. The thing is that this is the last of the three what I would call backbone systems on your Hyperspin setup. You've got MAME, you've got RetroArch, and you've got Mess. Now, I would say MAME covers basically all of your arcade stuff in general. And then you've got RetroArch, which I would say covers most of your modern-ish consoles in general. And you've got Mess, which in my eyes covers most of your retro shit in general. So yes, Mess is a very good system, to be honest. It's very good. It works almost identically as MAME. In fact, it's usually packaged up the same way as MAME, the same front end as MAME, and I believe it is a variant back in the day from MAME, which has branched off. I couldn't tell you all the fucking gubbins of it. Basically, I get it to play my games. You know, history of it, Wikipedia that shit. It's got nothing to do with me. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make it work on your Hyperspin setup, so you can get extra systems dancing like little buttercups on your Hyperspin wheels. So, yeah, enough of my waffling on as per normal. Let's actually get stuck in. Right, take yourself to the download link below. There you will find, as per normal, a link to a website, most probably Mega. If it's a Mega link, then what you want to do is download it. There will be a folder in there. You want to download that shit, and if set to default, it will most probably end up on your desktop. Something similar as this. Now it's called the M159. So it's a 7-zip file, so basically that's compressed or decompressed. That's what we need to do to it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and extract here. You may need 7-zip program to do that properly. If you haven't got it, I suggest you get it. It's a very good program. It's quite a big emulator, but when you look at the amount of systems that it runs, I mean hundreds of systems. It's what I would call a jack of all trades. It runs fucking everything in the world, but it's a master of none, or a master of few in my eyes. It's very good, like I said, with the retro systems, but according to the websites and things like that, it runs fucking anything in the world. It fucking runs marathons. The thing is that it runs all these systems, but it doesn't run them very well, or if at all, to a notable standard where you could actually do anything with them. However, for a lot of the retro ones and the ones that I'm going to be showing you and releasing packs for and going through the installs with properly, it runs them very well. Okay, and waffling, it's decompressed, let's get on with it. Right, so when you decompress it, here I have given you Mess 159. At the time of making this, there is version 160. Mess and MAME are almost identical in the way the versions come out. Basically, each time something new is added or whatever, they release a new version. Now, the versions are getting quite fucking often. I mean, like, to the stage where there's a new version every month. And to be honest, there's not that many updates to a notable standard where I want my systems to be updated. So, although this is one version behind, you're not going to fucking notice at the end of the day. And to be honest, I will be running this version for a hell of a long time. Another point to note, this is a 64-bit version of Mess. My apologies if you've got a 32-bit version. Feel free to download the 32-bit version and try your best to configure it and put it together the way that I've done my system so you can follow this tutorial. However, at the end of the day, everybody's systems are different and I can't fucking take into consideration the different variations in everybody's systems. I mean, it's 2015, people, at the end of the day. I know your systems that cost money. I mean, I've plowed quite a lot of money in the system into mine, not for many years, that's why it's a bit behind the times, but, you know, they do cost money, I understand that. But it's 2015, and 32-bit systems have been obsolete for some time now. So unless you're running it off a mobile phone, which of course are also 64-bit versions nowadays, you know, I can't compensate for everyone. But anyway, I'm waffling on. Feel free to download the 32-bit version, do exactly what I'm doing here. I'll try my best to explain things so you can get it working anyway. But the version that I've given you is 64-bit version. Fucking hell, I waffle some shit, me. So yeah, it's decompressed. Let's have a look inside of it. Right, normally when you get Mess, it comes like this. You won't have the Mess 64 or the mess UI 64. Basically, this is the bit that does all the magic. All as this is a front end or a menu system, so you can configure it to your heart's content and things like that. We'll go into detail with all this stuff. Now, another thing that you may need to download, or will need to download most probably, is the actual cores or BIOSes or ROMs for mess. Now, it works in the same way as MAME. MAME has a version, and all the ROMs that it uses are for that version of mess. So say for example, if I was using MAME version 159, I would also have to have all my ROMs for that version. So I would have all the ROMs version 159 for MAME. Now mess is identical. It runs mess to version 159. So when I get my BIOSes or cores or whatever you fucking call it nowadays, they also need to be version 159. So let's have a look inside. Here is your ROM folder. As you can see, everything is there. But it all needs to be concurrent. I've done this for you. If you got a 64-bit version, then fucking hell, you are in luck, because I've just done all the hard work for you. If you haven't, you shit out and you have to do it manually. That's the way it is, guys. Sorry. If you do have any problems, just fucking comment and I'll try my best to help you out anyway. But where you get these from, it's up to you at the end of the day. Point to consider, if you are making this yourself, make sure when you put it in the ROMs folder, if there isn't one already there, make a ROMs folder and put them in there. But make sure you put ROMs in the punctuation and capitalization exactly as it is here. ROMS, no capital letters. Mess can be configured to work in different ways, as in put them in different folders, but your ROMs will need to be in this folder, otherwise, trust me, it can't be fooled. It's like, yeah, you can do that, but I ain't gonna play with you unless you do it the way I like it. So make sure it's in this folder anyway. Now when I talk about ROMs, I'm not talking about in the same way as MAME. MAME ROMs are games basically. In terms of mess, the ROMs are the BIOSes or the systems or the cores. So each one of those different files within the ROMs folder isn't a game, it's a system. And then you can store your fucking games wherever the fuck you want in the world. But to run it, you will need the ROMs or the systems. So anyway, I'm waffling on again, but hopefully that's ticked a few boxes and answered a few questions. So let's go in there and actually set this fucker up then. I have actually just done this about 3 times and my phone keeps on fucking ringing. So hopefully this time will be the last and I won't need to do this. Anyway, let's crack on. Right, first things first, let's take ourselves over to our installation of Hyperspin. So computer in my case, D drive, Hyperspin. Obviously you'll have different addresses for wherever your Hyperspin is installed, but in my case it's here. And here we go, here's a Hyperspin, and within Hyperspin, as we talked about earlier, is the emulators folder. Let's open this up. As you can see at this moment in time so far, if you've been following our installs, and I suggest you do, we've installed MAME and we've installed RetroArch. This is the last big one that goes along with it. We will be installing a hell of a lot more emulators. Top of my head, PlayStation 2, Wii, GameCube, ZX Spectrum, Dreamcast, Commodore 64, Amiga, and probably some others I can't think of. Don't worry, we'll be getting to grips with these. I just want to get the 3 core systems out the way first. Anyway, waffling on again, let's get this smashed. So what we want to do is, I'm going to X out of there. We've got ourselves to our emulators folder within Hyperspin. Boom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop the thing that I just that you just downloaded from me. Take a second. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Okay, once I'm in there, delete. Don't need that anymore. Off you go. Right, something that people don't normally do at this moment in time, but something that I like to do because it means less fucking around later, is take yourself to your mess folder. Take yourself to the mess UI 64. Now only do this when you've moved it to where it is, if that makes sense. So once you've moved it to your emulators folder, only do this. Don't do it before while it's already on your desktop, because it will have repercussions later on. What we're going to do now, fucking hell, do a stutter, motherfucker. What we're going to do now is we are going to basically embed it into our system. We're going to get it all set up and feeling good and at home. and we want it to make all the config files and things like that it does normally in its everyday use, and do it well, and make sure it's all tucked in at bed at night so it works when we hook it up to our Hyperlaunch. There's going to be no repercussions later on. Right, so enough waffling, let's actually do it. So this is the bit that we normally run when we're running the game. Obviously, that's what we're going to be using with Hyperlaunch. In this case, we're going to be using the MES UI 64, or the MES user interface 64-bit basically. Obviously, it may just be called MES UI, depending on what version you've just downloaded, or it's 32, I don't fucking know, but basically we're going to run this one. Basically, it's a little menu system. Looks awfully lot like MAME, to be honest. There you go. Now if you've installed MAME, which I hope you have, then you're probably used to the look of this. Down the left hand side is all the different systems that MES can run. Fucking hundreds, basically. It's a good system. There you go, Nintendo Entertainment System. The systems I've never even heard of on here. Anyway, what we want to do is quickly just set this up. First off then, go into your options panel. Go to directories. Once you're in there, you'll see, hopefully it'll go to ROMs. First of all, this is the bit that you need to set up. Now ignore that this is in capital letters. What this needs to do is put it in ROMs. So we need to just make sure that ROMs are where it thinks it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete this. It's probably right because it's in the root directory, so it is right at the end of the day. But I'm just going to double check. So I'm going to delete that. Now I'm going to click back on here because I want to make a new one. Then I'm going to put browse. I'm going to make sure that I tell it where my ROMs are. Now these aren't the games, these are the cores or the systems like we just talked about previously. So I'm going to take myself to the D drive where my Hyperspin setup is, Hyperspin. Once we're in the emulators, because I need to be going to the MES emulator. So there it is, MES 159. And in here somewhere will be the ROMs, there it is, ROMs. No capital letters, no punctuation, just ROMs, plain and simple. Now I'm going to click OK. Now as you can see, it's given the full address of where it is. So if I click OK now, it will save that. Boom. Now it's going to do a quick audit and see what actual BIOS files and games or whatever it is are actually in there. Normally if you're just using MES, it's a good idea to just put your games in there also and it'll scan those. But we're not going to be using it in that instance, so all we want to do is to scan the systems or BIOS files. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into that again. Oh no, it's not done it yet. Just to confirm and just to prove the point here, I'm going to exit out. You don't need to do this, by the way. It's just to prove a point. When I go back in and I go to my directories, see, it's got rid of the complete path because it knows that basically that directory is in the root of the MES folder. It's in the same folder as the MES emulator, so it's basically said, yeah, you give me all that information, but I was just making do with the fact that it's in the MES folder. And that's why it needs to be named that way, because that's the way it is the default, and it confuses it sometimes, gives it too much to think about. So, you know, let's treat it as kin. Anyway, I'm waffling again. So we know that's good because we just set it before. Now what we want to do is, although you see it do an audit, sometimes it doesn't do a proper one, and sometimes it needs more shit going on. So I'm going to do a manual audit anyway. So I'm going to go File, Audit All Systems. Now it's going to check all my ROMs and look for any games or anything else that it can find, and it's going to put them all in together. And there you go, I've got 2,000 and odd games or ROMs or whatever it is, systems should I say, and correct that many. And there you go. I don't know what the fuck it's looking for. In my head it's saying that I found 2,114 systems and all of them are correct. Sometimes you have little incorrect ones, but as long as the games fucking work, who cares? Right, so that's good. Basically your job here is done. That is all the configuring, hopefully, that you should need. So I can exit out of here. Yep, it's properly exited. Now I can go back to my Hyperlaunch setup and actually get it installed on Hyperlaunch so we can actually get some fucking games working. There we go. Right, first thing to do first. Hyperlaunch is loaded up. There's our global emulator, global settings. So we want to set this up globally first, not in terms of a system. So click on global, click on emulators, take yourself to MES. This is probably already installed, but we're going to install it again anyway, just because fucking phone rang in the middle of doing this before. So instead of forgetting where I was up to, I just started again. Okay, so path, basically going to tell it where my exe is. Now, before, like I was on about, to actually set the settings up, we did that version, didn't we? The mess UI 64-bit. Now, to run the games, what it needs is not that, but it needs the mess version. So if you've got the 32-bit version, or if it doesn't say anything, it's just mess, basically. That's the bit that you need to be concentrating on for Hyperlaunch to tell it to run the games. So there we go. Tell it that it's there. ROM extensions, ignore all that shit, there's fucking loads of them, and hopefully that should say mess in the module. Okay, there's no save button, so what we need to do is click X and that should manually save. And if all is good, then you should have, well, you should have had a red little blob there at the beginning, and if it's set up right, then there should add no red blob when you're finished. Okay, so that's that bit done. I'm gonna make sure that there's no, well, what can we do? That's it basically set up at the end of the day. It should work now, hypothetically. Obviously we haven't tested it. So what I'm going to do now is quickly set up a system just to get the testing phase done and iron out anything that we may need to do with this system. So let's have a look. There's our Atari system. It probably does load a lot of these, to be honest. What can we use mess for? Mess. Let's do the Atari 5200. The problem why I was debating this one is that it plays Atari systems very well, retroly kind of thing, all the retro Atari systems. So Atari 2600, Atari 7200 works almost perfect within mess. The problem is that it doesn't emulate the Atari 5200 100%. There are games which have glitches and issues, so I wanted to choose one that didn't have that just to prove a point. I use mess for Atari 5200, but that's because I don't really play that often. I'm a 2600 and a 7200 guy. I don't really go for the 5200. Anyway, geeking it up there. Yeah, I'm just going to set this one up quickly just for testing. So I'm going to click on the Atari 5200 here on the left hand pane, click on emulators. As you can see, it's already set up, but I'm going to set it up again anyway just to aid you through this process. All I'm doing is I'm testing. I'm not actually setting the system up properly. I just want to make sure that the emulator works to the way I want it to. So ROM paths, where the fuck are they? They're in my Hyperspin drive, they're in my ROMs. Atari 5200. Yeah, there you go. Click OK, and there you go. Default emulator down here should be blank as normal. I'm going to tell it that I'm running mess. There we go. Next thing to do is I'm just going to turn off fade if it's not already done. Yeah, it's turned off anyway, just so it's quicker loading times and I can see any errors that pop up while I'm setting the system up just for testing purposes. Obviously when I've set it up properly, then I'll go through all these slow time and make it look really nice and get rid of all the shit in the background. Anyway, now I just want to make it work. So I've done that. Module, yeah, I'm just going to make sure all the settings are correct in the module. If you want to look at any geeky stuff, basically if you click on module and the little view module notes tab at the top there, it loads up this. It tells you everything to do with the actual mess system and the configuration and the kind of settings that you can play within mess. You know, take a look at this, have a read in slow time and absorb the fountain of knowledge that is the mess module notes. It's actually quite a good read. And then what I want to focus on here is edit global module settings. Right, so everything in the first tab is globally. So basically what it's going to do is everything that runs mess, it's going to apply these settings unless otherwise featured in its own tab. So that's for the Atari 5200. This is for everything that mess runs. So you know, I want it to go full screen. Do I want it default? Yeah, we'll try it on default for now. Bezel mode, normal, yes. Well, normal. Default. Okay, so now I'm going to set the 5200. Right, parameters, don't worry about that. HLSL is basically, do you want it to look old school, or do you want it to look as good as it can? I like it to look old school, but for testing purposes, I'm going to load it as it normally does. So if you want it to look old school, you click true here. Okay, leave that as default. I put bezels on because I like it. Backdrops I like to use, and overlays and software list. I'll leave for default for now, so I'm only testing. And of course you can go into the ROM settings and you can set everything up for per game configurations, but that's a more complicated side of it. Ignore that for now. We're just testing the fucking system. Jesus Christ. Okay, so that's everything set up for me. I just want to prove to myself and to you guys how it's working to see if there's anything else we need to set up. So quickly audit the system. I don't know what games work and what don't fucking work, to be honest. I probably should have found a game that worked well just for testing purposes. I know that Choplifter works, but I don't think it works very well. Yeah, it loads but it flickers. So ignore the actual flickering. That's got nothing to do with mess. That's just the fact that it doesn't like to load on mess. I just want to see that it loads up. So by clicking on that and clicking on the rocket, hopefully we should get some kind of reaction from it. May take a while. It's the first boot. And there we go. Boom. It's actually working. There you go. That is mess up and running. Like I said, it flickers on the screen. That's got nothing to do with mess and the install. That's to do with the fact that it doesn't emulate the 5200 very well. And this is a choppy game for it. The version on the 2600 and the 7200 are both better than this in my opinion anyway. Off topic there. Now what I want to do is I'm going to show you how to make it look old school by adding the HLS, whatever the fuck you call it, and also because it's just popped up with a menu bar, I'm going to tell you how to get rid of that. You can do it in the options, but sometimes it comes back and I'd rather show you how to do it properly so you never get bothered by that ever again. So I'm going to exit out of here. I'm now going to minimize this. What else do I need to do? Yep, that's it. Now I need to go into the emulators folder. First of all, I'm going to get rid of that menu bar. So, easiest way, go into here. Go into your mess setup. There's a file called ini. Go into that one. I'm going to delete this basically that one. The one that was for that system, because Atari 5200. Because I want the settings that I'm going to make now to supersede that, if that makes any fucking sense. Right, so I'm going to open mess. This is like its core configs. This is what it loads with every system. Now what I want to do is, this is what you'll be greeted with. If you've opened it with Notepad++, then you will have all these green things. It looks a little better. If you've opened it in normal Notepad, it's exactly the same info, but it may look slightly different and have no colours basically in this file. So what I want to do is go down to the, open it up. I'm going to take the menu system off, and where that is going all the way down until you're about, let's have a look, 2/3 down, and then on the left hand side you will find Windows video options. Now if you scroll up, you'll have loads of video options, OSD. Ignore them. What you want is the proper Windows video options, and here you will find burping, prescale 1 and menu 1. Now if you're used to configs, you will realize that 1 means yes and 0 means no. So at this moment in time, its config tells it that it wants the menu to be up, but we don't want it to be up because it looks like shit when I'm trying to play a game. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to put 0 there. Like I said, you can do this in the menu system, I think. However, it's got a habit of coming back. If you do it here, it'll never bother you ever again. Okay, so we've got that one, and now I can do file, save, boom, and that's done. And then exit out of here. That should have hopefully saved. Now I can go back to my, let's have a look. Well, we've already got it loaded down the bottom still. Hyperlaunch, go back to my Hyperlaunch. Now what I want to do is, now we've got rid of the menu, I also want to show you the other way of getting it to look old school. So I'd open up the module settings within Atari 5200. Make sure I've got mess selected, and I'd do, oh, not that one. I would do edit global module settings. And as we talked about before, you've got HLSL. And basically got to enable it within 5200. So do I want to change that? Yes, set to true. Boom. And there we go. Now when I load it up, it should have got rid of the menu, and it should have got, well, it should look slightly different, like old school monitor. If you don't like that, then all you need to do is go back and change that to false, and then you won't have the old school monitor look anymore. Personal preference at the end of the day. Dance with these options, embrace them, take them as your own, but don't fuck around with it too much because you might break it. Okay. Okay, so now let's test the same game again, which is going to be old choppy lifter, and it should work hopefully. Got rid of the menu, look old, and do it. Now I may have to press this to load a couple of times, because when you change settings, especially in the configs like that, it doesn't like it. It likes to embed itself in. It's a temperamental emulator. Once it's run a couple of times, then it's nice. It's embedded itself. It's made itself warm in your setup. But yeah, anyway, it might not load first time. I might, there we go, done, and boom, 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 like a fucking shotgun. We've got the emulator running. It's looking old school. We got rid of the menu, and everything is good. I'm excited. I'm so excited I could probably turn on Choplifter now and play with it. Right, if I didn't already say this because I can't remember what I got up to, basically when you're in game, press shift, brings up this, just like main. You can go up and down with your cursor keys, and you press enter to select something. So best thing to do in this case scenario is to go to input the system and set up all the keys just for the system. Do it on a per system basis. You don't want to set up that one input in general, because basically that's going to set it up for every system that mess runs. Problem is that different systems have different keys in different places, so do it on a per system basis so all your keys look good and feel instinctive for per system stuff. Once you've got all that done, you can just save it and then return to the system, and it will keep for every other game on that system. Okay, we are fucking done I think. Exit out of there. We've got mess up and running. We've got we tested it on the 5200. Again, don't bother setting it up, I was just testing it. We will set that up in slow time and get it to look good and add all the themes and things like that. I just wanted to test mess to prove to you that it works first of all, and to show you the different things for setting it up basically. Feel free to dance with mess as much as you want, add systems at your own joy, but I will be covering all the systems, well, the majority of the systems that will be running in Hyperspin, you know, in later videos. But this is a big video, sorry, it's a big video, but like I said, it's the 3 core systems all set up now. I tried to give you as much as my knowledge all the way through these setups. There's still a hell of a lot more to go, and now we've got all the basics in place. Now we can start going advanced and getting all these nice systems that people like. But for now, yeah, that is good. We've got it up and running, so I'm going to exit out of there. I'm going to exit out of there so we can show the nice big mess logo. And yeah, make sure that you like, subscribe, most of all please share the videos. You know, people are getting ripped off fucking every day by these knobs selling pre-configured drives. I don't care what they say about these fucking setups, they're all fucking shit. They look like crap. I mean, there's no time and effort put into the wheels. There's got widescreen mixed with normal resolution. There's fucking box art all over the place. There's shit missing here, shit missing there, and they fucking charge an arm and a leg for this crap. And at the end of the day, if you play your cards right, setting up a fucking Hyperspin system 10 times better than what they're selling you is fucking free. It's fucking stupid. I can't emphasize how stupid it is to buy a fucking setup. Now, if you follow all my videos, even up to now, I mean, what, we've probably got between 5 and 10 systems up and running. The core systems, the one that everyone likes basically, and you could probably do that if you follow them one by one. You can probably get the entire Hyperspin setup and 10 systems up and running before dinner time in a day. It's fucking easy peasy. So anyway, just spread the word, like this shit, share it, comment below if something's not working for you. I'll do my best to help you out. Of course, I've got my troubleshooting videos that I've put out there as well. For anybody that is having issues, they will answer a lot of questions for the basic niggles. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for supporting me in all this, and I will try and get some more videos out to you this week, especially some more big updates with emulators. We've got a lot to look forward to now. There's a lot of systems that I'm excited to share with you. And yeah, that, my friends, is mess. So like, subscribe, the rest of the YouTube shit, and I will catch you later. Bye.